It was just another tired Monday night after work, the kind where your brain is too fried to do anything productive, so you end up scrolling your phone. I had a cold beer in one hand, my feet up on the ottoman, and I was flipping through Facebook, mostly out of habit. Emma had said she was working late that night. Some quarterly meeting at the office, the kind where she had to network and stay behind for drinks and small talk. I didn't think twice about it. She'd been at that marketing firm for almost 5 years, and I'd met most of her coworkers at least once. Bunch of peppy, overly caffeinated types, always talking about team synergy and engagement metrics. Not my world, but I always smiled through it. Anyway, I saw a post from one of her colleagues, Jenna, I think. We're not friends on there, but the photo was public, so it popped up on my feed. It was one of those group pictures. 8, maybe 9 people huddled together in the middle of what looked like a lounge or some hotel event room. Everyone was grinning wide with drinks in hand. I scanned it, looking for Emma, but I didn't see her among those people. But then something in the background caught my eye. Not in the foreground with all the laughter and raised glasses, but tucked into the left side of the frame, behind the group. A man in a baseball cap, backwards, holding a woman close. His arms were around her waist, like it wasn't the first time. She had her back turned to the camera, so at first glance I couldn't tell who she was. But then my eyes locked onto something small, familiar, just below her right shoulder blade. It was a tattoo. A little crescent moon with vines curling around it. I remember the exact day Emma got it. She was 20, wild, and convinced a tiny moon on her back made her mysterious. I kept staring. Then I noticed the earrings, simple gold hoops. I bought those for her last Valentine's Day. And the dress. That's what sealed it for me. It was red. Not bright red like a fire truck, but deeper, like a glass of wine. I remembered it because she wore it the first time we went to her boss's fundraiser downtown. She told me it made her feel sharp. I told her it made her look like trouble in the best way. A few months ago, she told me it didn't fit anymore. Said she was going to donate it. But there it was. Fitted tight around the waist. Her hair pulled up the way she only did when she wanted to show off her shoulders. And the way that man was holding her, that wasn't friendly. That wasn't office party small talk. That was someone comfortable, someone familiar. Someone who knew what that dress looked like from more angles than I'd ever see again. I zoomed in. I swear, my heart didn't even race. I didn't yell. I didn't throw the phone or curse at the walls. I just stared at the photo like it was a puzzle, and I was the last one in the room to figure it out. There were no messages, no lipstick on a collar, no strange phone calls in the night. Just this one image, this one stolen frame that told me everything I needed to know. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't cinematic. It was quiet, cold, like someone flipped a switch inside me, and everything went still. There's a moment, right when something breaks, where you don't know what you're supposed to feel. Anger? Sadness? Betrayal? I didn't feel any of those, not yet. I felt empty, like the floor had just dropped an inch and I hadn't noticed until I took a step. That was my wife, Emma. And that was the moment I knew she was lying to me. Not just about the dress. Not just about the earrings or the office party. About everything. And once you know that, you can't unknow it. You just start watching everything differently. I've never been much of a tech guy, but I'm not clueless either. I knew what I had seen, and I knew it wouldn't mean a damn thing unless I had proof. The kind of proof that couldn't be talked around or blamed on lighting or a weird camera angle. Emma always had an answer for everything. Always made me feel like I was imagining things or overthinking when I brought up concerns in the past. Little things, small lies. Stuff like, oh, I just lost track of time. Or that guy? He's just a friend from work. Always something. But now I wanted facts. Hard ones. Something she couldn't twist into another story. Something she couldn't smile her way out of. So I started planning. I ordered a phone online and picked it up at one of those little shops off the highway. Paid cash. No questions asked. The guy behind the counter was watching a baseball game on a tiny screen and barely looked at me. I asked about SIM cloning tools, and he just slid a little kid across the counter like he did it every day. Maybe he did. For all I know, half the people in that shop were doing something shady. But at that point, I didn't care about any of that. Back home, I waited until Emma was busy. She was out shopping that weekend, and I sat in the garage reading through instructions, tutorials, and watching videos on how to clone a SIM card. Took a few tries to get everything set up. I wasn't trying to hack the Pentagon. I just needed to quietly mirror what her phone was doing. Incoming texts, photos, call logs. I wanted all of it. The first opportunity came on a Wednesday night. She got home late, said work ran long again, said she needed a shower to wash the day off. I nodded, told her dinner was on the table. She left her phone on the kitchen counter, screen face down, as always lately. I waited until the water started running upstairs. It took less than a minute. My hands weren't even shaking, which surprised me. I'd expected some adrenaline rush or nerves, but all I felt was focus. I popped the SIM out, slid in the cloned card, transferred the data, and slipped hers right back into place before the shower even steamed up the mirror. By the time she came back down in her robe, I was pouring her a glass of wine like nothing had happened. That night, I waited until she fell asleep. You and ich have die Synchronisierung auf meinem Telefon aktiviert. It buzzed immediately. The first message hit me like a truck. Thinking about last night. It was from a contact saved as Tina, Yoga. Tina, the woman she had been taking classes with twice a week. The one who, according to her, had the best sense of humor and was really helping her work on her core. Only Tina didn't use punctuation like a woman. And the photos that followed weren't from any yoga class. One was a mirror selfie taken in what looked like a hotel room. Emma, hair down, full makeup, wearing a dress I'd never seen before. The next photo was a close-up of 2 drinks clinking, her signature shade of nail polish on one of the hands. She always said it made her feel confident. The messages kept coming. All hours. Morning, midday, late at night. Sometimes she'd be texting Tina from the couch next to me while pretending to scroll Instagram. She'd smile at something on her screen, laugh softly, and then glance at me to see if I noticed. I did. I just didn't say a word yet. She talked to him like they'd known each other for years. Inside jokes, pet names, memories. The kind of banter I hadn't heard from her in months, maybe longer. She told him about her day, her frustrations, her dreams. She said she wished they had more time. Said she was stuck in a complicated spot and needed to move carefully. He called her baby girl in one message. She called him my safe place in another. I read every word like I was reading someone else's story, like it was a book I couldn't put down even though it made me sick to my stomach. Each message felt like a shovel of dirt thrown onto a coffin. Not just our marriage, but the man I thought I was to her. I'd worked long hours to provide, bent over backward to support her career, skipped fishing trips to repaint the bathroom because she didn't like the tile color anymore. I had put every ounce of who I was into making a life with her. And here she was, telling Tina, Yoga, how free she felt when they were together. Over the next few days, I didn't eat much. I didn't sleep much either. I just kept collecting everything. I saved screenshots. I labeled messages by time and date. I organized the photos, the call logs, the entire thing into folders on a flash drive. Every time I wanted to yell or punch a wall, I reminded myself, not yet. I wasn't going to confront her with suspicions. I was going to bury her with facts. Now let's go back a little further. It started a few months before I ever saw that photo. Emma had been on a big, let's improve the house kick for a while. She said it was about investing in our future. She was always using words like equity and return on value, and I'll admit, she made it sound smart. Logical, even. She had this whole Pinterest board full of design ideas, floor plans, open shelving, paint samples, and weird lighting fixtures that looked like upside-down bird cages. She'd stay up late looking at countertops like most people scroll through cat videos. She wanted to gut the kitchen, redo the floors, rip out the carpet in the master bedroom, and tear out the old tile in the bathroom. I didn't argue. I figured, fine, marriage is about compromise. We'd lived in the house for almost 8 years. It was a good place, solid bones, nothing fancy, but it was ours. The kind of neighborhood where folks still wave when they drive by. I figured a little work wouldn't hurt, and maybe it would make her happy. At the time, I still wanted that. What she didn't know was that around the time the home improvement storm was picking up, I'd already started keeping notes on her behavior, on the weird nights out, on the things she said that didn't match the things I later read on the cloned phone. I wasn't just watching anymore. I was planning. And this house? It had suddenly become the biggest piece on the board. Emma was the kind of person who liked to be involved in the design stuff but didn't want to deal with the boring paperwork. She hated fine print. She'd skim contracts like they were menu specials. If it didn't have a picture attached, she didn't care. She once bought a $300 lamp online without realizing it was only 10 inches tall. Details are your thing, she told me once. I'm more about vision. Well, that worked in my favor. So I did something that took some research. I set up an LLC, just a basic one, nothing fancy. Gave it a generic name, Brightwood Holdings, LLC. Sounded like a real estate group, something with structure and credibility. On paper, it looked like we were taking advantage of a financial strategy, putting our home into an LLC to better protect our assets. It's not uncommon. Rich people do it all the time. What Emma didn't realize was that the LLC was just me. Just my name. No shared ownership. No board of managers. No oversight. I filed everything through a business law firm 2 towns over and used a mailing address linked to a P.O. box. It was all above board, just not something she'd ever dig into. I told her we were refinancing through a limited trust structure, and I handed her the documents along with a mimosa on a Sunday while she was busy flipping through an online rug catalog. She signed. I didn't lie about what the papers were. The wording was just complicated enough to bore her. She read maybe the first 3 lines before saying, "Where do I initial?" From there, it was all just timing. I got the permits. I managed the budget. I brought in the contractors, most of whom were old high school buddies or guys I'd worked with before. We redid the floors with solid oak planks, tore out that hideous laminate, and replaced the kitchen with real quartz counters. Even updated the bathroom with a double vanity and a rainfall shower head she picked out. She was thrilled. Said I finally had taste. She took credit for most of it, told her friends how she designed everything. I let her talk. Let her pick out throw pillows and wall art and make long speeches about natural light. All the while, the house she thought we were building together was becoming mine, inch by inch, nail by nail. It was hard to play along some days. Watching her walk through the halls talking about our dream home, while I knew the paperwork had already shifted. While I knew she was messaging another man while picking out backsplash tile with me. But I held my tongue, bit down, and kept smiling. Every decision she made for that house made it easier for me to detach from her. She wasn't building a future with me, she was decorating a goodbye gift without knowing it. I took detailed records. Every invoice, every design change, every single thing tied to the improvements. And I kept the receipts under the LLC's expenses. In the eyes of the law, it wasn't her home anymore. Not once she signed. Funny thing is, she told me once during the middle of all this, after the kitchen was nearly done, that she felt like this was a fresh start, that we were reconnecting through projects. I remember nodding and saying something like, "Yeah, it's nice to see things come together." And I meant it, just not in the way she thought. When the final coat of paint went up, when the house looked better than it ever had, I stood in the living room, looked around, and made up my mind. She built it for us. I was going to finish it for me, and then I was going to let it go. The house sold on a Tuesday. I made sure of that. I've been planning everything behind my wife's back since I saw the photo and then read her text messages. It wasn't accidental or rushed. It was the day I picked on purpose. Emma usually had meetings back-to-back on Tuesdays, then met her so-called yoga friend for dinner. At least, that's what she told me. I didn't bother asking where she'd really be. I already knew. I took the day off work and got started early. I brewed my coffee like normal, sat at the kitchen table for a minute just looking around. The place looked good. Clean. Finished. All that effort we put into renovations, well, mostly me, really did pay off. I didn't waste time. First thing I did was change the locks. Both the front and back doors. The new ones were sturdier. Smart locks, too, keyed only to me. I even reprogrammed the garage opener and removed her codes from the alarm system. It was symbolic, maybe, but it was also practical. I didn't want her walking in anymore like she still belonged there. Once that was done, I walked room to room, packing up her things. I had bought new cardboard boxes the night before. I wasn't messy about it, either. I folded her clothes, separated out her shoes, wrapped her little perfume bottles and towels. Even her books got stacked neatly, the corners all aligned. It wasn't anger that drove me, it was precision. A job to be done. Every drawer I opened, every closet I emptied, I treated it like I was cleaning out an old guest room. That's what it felt like. Cold. Detached. In the guest bathroom, I found a basket of skincare products she used to brag about online, serums, masks, little jars with words I couldn't pronounce. I packed them all without reading a label. In the bedroom, I cleared her side of the dresser and nightstand. Her jewelry, her curling iron, even the notepad she kept for grocery lists and half-finished to-do items. Every piece of her life, placed carefully into boxes. Labeled. Sealed. Then came the part that wasn't quite as gentle. I went into my office, opened the drawer where I'd kept the burner phone, and printed out one of the messages. Just one. Not the worst one, not the most graphic. Just enough to say everything I needed. It was from 3 nights prior. I can still feel you. Wish I could sneak back over tonight. You're my peace, always. Tina, yoga. I printed it in full. Her words, his name, the timestamp, even the heart emoji she added after it. I slipped that paper into a clear plastic sleeve and placed it neatly on top of her clothes in the box-marked bedroom. Then I walked to the front lawn, pulled up the renovation company's coming soon sign, and replaced it with a new one I had made custom at a sign shop a week earlier. Sold to the one who didn't lie. Simple, clean, loud enough without shouting. The realtor was scheduled to finalize the paperwork later that day. The buyer was a guy named Walter, divorced, 2 kids, just wanted a quiet place close to his work. I liked him. He didn't ask a lot of questions, didn't try to haggle or complicate things. Just saw a good house and made a fair offer. I accepted it without hesitation. Everything was already set up through the LLC. Emma's name hadn't been on anything in months. Around 6 o'clock that evening, I grabbed a cold beer, sat on my neighbor Greg's porch, and waited. Her little gray sedan rolled up the driveway. I watched her step out, heels clicking on the pavement, keys already in hand. She didn't notice the sign at first. She walked right to the front door and tried the handle. Locked? She tried again. Then reached for the keypad. Didn't work. She stepped back, frowned, noticed the sign. Read it. I saw her lips move as she mouthed the words. Then came the knocking. Hard. Then pounding. Open the door, Daniel, she shouted. What the hell is this? I didn't move. I just sat there and sipped my beer. Greg gave me a glance but didn't say a word. He knew. He'd known something was off for a while. She started screaming, demanding to know what was going on. She walked around the side, tried the back. Same result. Then she came back to the front and pounded harder, palms slamming the wood, fingers curled into fists. I didn't feel what I thought I might. Not satisfaction. Not revenge. Just clarity. Stillness. Like a snow-covered field before dawn. Quiet. Complete. I watched her fall apart from, and I didn't say a thing. She had made her choices. I just gave her the door to knock on. Danik folk dine woshvaller auseinandersetzen, schrien, lauten telefoniten und anderem. Ich voor berghen zu meinen Eltern, und sie wustavan. What sie hinge gangen war, interessiert Michigan Winnick. A nice man in a tie knocked on the door one afternoon and handed me the envelope. She was suing me for fraud. Said I had unlawfully removed her from her marital residence. Claimed emotional distress. Claimed financial manipulation. Claimed she didn't know what she had signed when she handed over her rights to the house. In short, she played the victim. The complaint painted me as some kind of controlling husband who'd been quietly plotting against her. According to her, I tricked her into signing documents she didn't understand, used predatory legal tactics, and deliberately blindsided her. She even threw in a line about how I had violated the spirit of trust in the marriage. That one made me laugh. Not out loud, but one of those dry, silent laughs that lives in the back of your throat. I didn't rush to respond. I got a lawyer, calm guy, early 50s, looked like he'd rather be fishing but happened to be deadly with paperwork. I gave him everything. All the documents. The LLC filings. The notarized signatures. The emails where she confirmed understanding the terms. I showed him the text messages I had saved, the ones between her and Tina, yoga, as she had him saved in her phone. He didn't say much. Just nodded, took notes, and said, "We'll be fine." The court date came faster than I expected. It was held at the county courthouse. I wore a plain navy suit. She came in looking like she was walking a red carpet, heels, pearls, the whole look of someone trying to win sympathy by looking put together. Her lawyer looked sharp, younger guy, full of that confident energy you only have when you think facts can be bent with enough charisma. He tried. He really did. They opened with the same tired argument about coercion. Said I had manipulated her into signing over the house. Said I intentionally obfuscated the paperwork. That word, obfuscated. They used it about 4 times, like repetition would make it true. When it was our turn, my lawyer opened a black binder that looked like it had been through a war. Inside was everything. A printed copy of the LLC's creation documents. Her signature, witnessed and dated. Emails confirming her approval of the transfers. Bank records showing the disbursement of funds, her portion, deposited right into the joint account we had at the time. And then came the real stuff. A second folder. This one held the text messages. The photos. The call logs. A timeline of messages she sent to her yoga partner during the exact week she had been begging me to redo the house for us. The ones where she told him she couldn't wait to leave once the renovations were done, that she hoped the property value would help her get out clean. Her lawyer asked for a recess after that. When they came back in, he looked less sure of himself. He didn't argue quite as loud, didn't stand up as tall. I think that was the moment it hit them. They weren't going to win. The judge, older man, glasses halfway down his nose, the kind who's probably seen every trick in the book, didn't take long with the ruling. He looked at her, then at me, then at the folders spread across the table. He said the paperwork was valid, that there was no evidence of fraud, that she'd signed knowingly, that the documentation was extensive and clear. And then he turned to her lawyer and said, "You should have vetted your client better." I didn't smile, didn't nod. I just stared ahead, hands folded, letting the weight of the moment settle. Alle ihr ins Brush werden zurückgewiesen. Es wird nachgewiesen, dass das Haus zum Zeitpunkt des Verkaufs ausschließlich mir gehört. The car too, since it was technically under my name, and paid off using funds tied to the LLC's operating expenses. Her claims were dismissed with prejudice, which meant she couldn't file again for the same nonsense. She didn't say anything as the courtroom emptied. She stood there, clutching her purse like it was the last thing she owned. Her eyes didn't meet mine. She didn't cry, didn't yell. She just looked empty, not angry, not even sad, just blank. Like someone who just realized they were standing on a cracked sheet of ice and the water underneath was black and deep. Her heels echoed across the floor as she walked out. That's the sound I remember most. Not the judge's gavel, not the lawyer's arguments, just the sound of her walking away with nothing. Not because I took it all from her, but because she handed it away, piece by piece, thinking there would always be more. She bet on a lie. I just made sure the truth showed up to court. After the court ruling, I thought that would be the end of it. I figured she'd disappear, move on, find someone else to believe her stories. She had always been good at starting over, especially when it meant not facing the consequences. But I guess this time was different. This time, she didn't get to spin the ending. It started small. A couple of calls from blocked numbers. I don't usually answer those, but one day I picked up out of habit. "Daniel," she said. I didn't say a word. Just listened. "I'm not trying to fight," she said. "I just need to talk. Just to understand. Can we meet?" I hung up without responding. The next call came 2 days later. Same number. Then again the day after that. Sometimes she'd leave voicemails. Her voice was soft, almost rehearsed. Like she thought if she sounded gentle enough, she could slide back into my life without resistance. "I just need to close this chapter," she said once. "You owe me that much." Another one. "I still believe in us, Daniel. Even after everything." It was like she couldn't accept what had happened. Like she thought the trial was some kind of break in the story, not the ending. She seemed to believe if she just said the right things, I'd come around. She didn't stop at calls. One afternoon, I walked into the break room at work and nearly dropped my coffee. She was sitting in the lobby, pretending to flip through a magazine. When I saw her, she perked up like she had just bumped into me. "Oh hey," she said, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I was nearby and thought maybe we could talk. I turned around and walked straight back into the office. Let security handle it. Told them not to let her back in again, no matter what excuse she used. Then she started showing up at the gym. I usually go in the evenings. It's part of my routine. Clears my head. Helps me stay focused. One night, I saw her through the front window, sitting in her car. Just watching. Didn't come in, just sat there. Another night she was in the parking lot again, pretending to mess with her phone. The third time, she actually came inside. Walked straight over while I was mid-set on the bench press. "Can we just talk for 5 minutes?" she asked, arms crossed. I said, "No, not here. Not ever." She didn't argue. Just stared at me like she couldn't process the word. Like it wasn't something I was supposed to say to her. She left, but the messages kept coming. One night, I was sitting on my couch watching a game when my neighbor Marcus called. Zu diesem Zeitpunkt hatte ich mir bereits ein kleines Haus gekauft, nicht weit von dem Ort entfernt, in dem ich zuvor mit gelebt hat. See canny die address. Und mein Nachbarn kannten mein Lebensgeschichte. Marcus is one of those guys who sees everything. Nothing gets past him, not out of nosiness, just awareness. "Hey, dude," he said, chuckling. "Your ex is standing at your front door with 2 Starbucks cups and a low-cut blouse. Looks like she thinks caffeine and cleavage are gonna fix things." I stood up, walked to the window, and peeked through the blinds. Sure enough, there she was. Hair curled, makeup done, leaning slightly against the door like she was in a commercial. "You want me to say something?" Marcus asked. I thought about it for a second, then said, tell her I moved to Canada. He laughed. Seriously? Yeah. Just say I packed up, disappeared, joined a curling team, whatever. Just make it stick. I got you, man, he said, still laughing. Consider her redirected. I watched as Marcus stepped out of his house and walked up to her. I couldn't hear what he said, but her face shifted pretty fast, from hopeful to confused to irritated. She stood there for another minute, like she didn't know whether to believe it or not. Then she turned around and walked off, her shoes clacking against the pavement with that quick, sharp rhythm I'd heard too many times before. That was the last time she tried showing up in person. After that, she went back to the voicemails. Some were angry. Others were sad. A few were just silence, like she wanted to say something but couldn't figure out what would work. I didn't answer any of them. I didn't block her number either, though. Part of me wanted to know how far she'd go, how long she'd keep trying. I wasn't hoping for an apology. I didn't care about closure. I already had that. What I wanted was distance. Space between the life I had with her and the one I was building without her. She had been asking to meet for weeks. Always the same message, just once. One last time. I need to say things in person. Sometimes it came through a voicemail, sometimes in a text from a new number. Same request, over and over again. At first, I ignored her. Then I blocked the number. She'd find another. Then another. I didn't know why I finally said yes. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe I wanted to see what she'd say now that everything had fallen apart. Maybe I just wanted to know what kind of story she'd spin when she didn't have a courtroom to hide behind. We agreed on a public place. Neutral ground. I chose a cafe off Main Street, the kind with big windows and small tables. I picked it on purpose, too public for drama, too open for pretending. If she was going to say something, I wanted it under daylight and in full view of the world. I got there early and sat at a table by the window, sipping plain coffee and watching people walk by. It was a bright day, warm, with a breeze. The kind of day that makes it hard to believe anything heavy is about to happen. She arrived 5 minutes late. I recognized her right away, but it took me a second to really see her. She didn't look like the woman I had married. Not just because of the smeared makeup or the frizzy hair that looked like it hadn't seen a brush that morning. Not because her clothes were wrinkled, or because her eyes darted nervously like she was expecting someone to tell her this was a bad idea. She just looked different. Smaller, somehow. Not physically, but collapsed inside. Like someone had taken the air out of her. Hi, she said as she approached the table. She didn't sit right away, just hovered like she was waiting for permission. Have a seat, I said, flat. She sat, looked at me, tried to smile, but it didn't hold. I'm glad you agreed to meet, she started. I wasn't sure if you would. I didn't respond. Just waited. She took a breath. I know there's nothing I can say that will change what I did. I know I hurt you. I know I broke everything. And I'm sorry. I still said nothing. She looked down at the table, then up again. I didn't know why I was doing it at the time. I thought I was just tired. I felt invisible, like I was disappearing. Every day felt the same. I started talking to him because it made me feel seen again. Like I mattered to someone. I know that's not an excuse, she said, voice quieter now. It's just, I lost myself somewhere, and I didn't know how to find my way back. I leaned back in my chair. My arms were crossed, not defensive, just done. You didn't just lose yourself, Emma, I said. You threw me away in the process. She flinched at that. Her eyes got glassy. I still believe in us, she said. I still love you. I never stopped. I think about what we had all the time. I miss it. I miss you. I nodded slowly. Not because I agreed, but because I wanted her to keep going. Then I said, I loved you more than I loved myself. Every day, I tried to be someone worthy of you. I trusted you when things didn't feel right. I gave you room when you pulled away. I chalked up the silence to stress and the distance to work. She opened her mouth, but I raised a hand to stop her. And then I found out you gave all of that. The love, the attention, the loyalty. Her face went pale. She looked down at her lap like it might swallow her whole. Her shoulders hunched, and for the first time that day, she looked like she finally understood that there was no fixing any of it. Tears welled up in her eyes. She covered her mouth, trying to hold it together, but a soft sob slipped out. She shook her head. I didn't mean to fall that far, she whispered. I stood up, left a 5 on the table to cover my coffee, picked up my keys. She looked up, eyes red now, makeup running in streaks down her cheeks. Daniel, please. I looked at her one last time, not as my wife, Not as the woman I had built a life with, just as someone I used to know. You burned the bridge, Emma. Don't be surprised that I'm not waiting on the other side. And I walked out. I have decided to move away from this place altogether. Over the next month, I packed up everything I owned that wasn't tied to a memory. I sold the house to a quiet older guy who wanted something simple with a finished kitchen. He didn't ask about the past, and I didn't offer it. The paperwork went through smooth. I signed the final sale, handed over the keys, and left town without looking back. I moved to a city about 3 hours away, far enough that nobody knew me. Got myself a modest apartment near a walking trail and a hardware store. The kind of place where the neighbors wave but don't ask too many questions. That's exactly what I needed. I didn't leave a forwarding address. Didn't send out a big goodbye. I just went quiet. Let the past shrink in the rearview mirror. I started over. New job. Same line of work, construction project management. It's what I'm good at. Keeps my hands busy and my head clear. The guys at the new job are decent. We keep it light, talk weather and sports. Nobody pries into my personal life, and I don't offer up stories about it. It's peaceful. I go to work. I come home. I cook for myself, take walks in the evenings, sit on the porch with coffee in the mornings. It's nothing fancy, but it's real. And real feels good. There's a difference between mourning a person and mourning a fantasy. I spent too long believing in the fantasy. Believing that the woman I loved would never do the things she did. That she'd always come home, always be honest, always choose me. I don't mourn her anymore. Not the real her. I'm not angry either. Not anymore. That part came and went like a storm. I let myself feel it when it hit, but I didn't let it define me. I didn't let it stay. Anger is heavy, and I've carried enough. What I feel now is clean. Like when a bad storm finally passes and the air smells like nothing but wet earth and pine. That's what it feels like, clarity. It's not joy, and it's not sadness. It's just stillness. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. She made her choices. She told her lies. She built her little world of secrets and half-truths and flirty text messages. I didn't ruin her life. She did that all on her own. All I did was hand her the matches. She struck them. She burned the bridge. She danced in the glow. I just stood on the other side and watched it fall. Share your thoughts in the comments. Can someone cheat and still claim to love their partner? If you like the story, subscribe to the channel and give us a like.